Hey there everyone, it's Myria Com again. Working on this project to try and get used to the sound of my own recorded voice. It is Friday today. I am pretty tired. I've had a long week. It's been kind of crazy. I feel like every week is kind of crazy. Unfortunately, I think that's just how my job is going to go forever. And I feel like I'm always having to switch gears mentally. And it's hard to do a job like that when it's not something you're really passionate about. It's just a job to pay the bills. That makes it harder to do the kind of stuff I have to do. So, it's whatever. I know that's a thing a lot of people are probably going through, but anyway, I kind of wanted to talk a little bit more about knitting needles. This is really dumb. But after I finished editing the recording for yesterday, I came to the realization that I should maybe talk a little bit more about the kind of needles I use, in terms of, like, materials. I don't know that it matters, necessarily, to anybody, but, maybe that's something else I should have talked about, so, I don't know. But I will. So, the first set of needles I got were, like, the metal kind. That's mostly what I have seen out there, so I assume that is the standard, but I could be wrong. Maybe I live in a weird place. I've seen a lot of plastic as well. I don't like plastic as much. I've used a couple of sets of plastic needles. I don't really like those as much. The metal I do like. And I also have a couple of sets of bamboo needles. And the bamboo I don't mind either. My problem with the bamboo is the amount that I use them, they do start, and maybe I just don't have very good quality ones. That's probably the case, but they do start to, or they can start to splinter a little bit. Hasn't been too bad yet on any of the ones I have, but that is a whole thing, so. Did want to mention that. I mostly use, like, the aluminum metal ones. I assume they're aluminum. I shouldn't make those kinds of assumptions. Some kind of metal is what I will go with, instead of pretending I'm an expert. And that's just me. That could just be because that is what is easily accessible to me in my area. Less so now, because Joann's doesn't exist anymore, so, I think Walmart has the same, metal ones, probably. I don't know, I haven't looked. I do know that they have stuff. And I haven't been to Michael's in a while, so I don't even know what Michael's has. Joann's was my go-to place, so I might have to check out Michael's now that Joann's is gone. But, yeah, I could also talk about yarn, I suppose. So, the brand that I started with, the very first thing that I found to make those, matching cat and human scarves was, I think it was, the Heartland series of yarn from, Lion Brand yarns. I really like Lion Brand. My sister, who does not knit, and I don't think knows that much about knitting, but she does have a coworker who does a lot more knitting than I do, and has been doing it for a lot longer than me. But my sister likes to say, "Oh, that's cheap yarn." And I'm just like, oh, Lion Brand isn't cheap. I mean, it's not the most expensive, but it's definitely not the cheapest. It's not Red Heart yarn, or Super Saver yarn, or whatever, so it's hard to get quality yarn. It's hard to afford quality yarn, unless you make a lot of money, which I do not, so that's tough for me, but yeah, so Lion Brand is most of what I have in terms of yarn, and I will admit, I have a lot of yarn. I probably have way too much yarn. I mean, I especially have felt that way since my shoulder injury and I haven't been able to knit. I have all of my yarn in, like, tote bags in my closet right now, and every time I open my closet to get ready for work, I'm just like, ugh. Look at all this yarn I can't use and am not using right now. But yeah, most of what I have is Lion Brand yarn. Various varieties. I have so many different things. And I do have plans for most of it, or at least vague ideas of what I want to do with most of it, so it's not like it's just sitting there with no purpose. I do have plans. As an example, I mentioned in the previous recording that I want to make a blanket for my niece, like I made a blanket for my nephew. Well, after I finished the one for my nephew, I made sure to buy enough yarn in the color I need and the style I need to make my niece's blanket. And I made sure, to buy enough of that so that I would have it, so that when I am ready to start on it, I can just start and not have to worry about getting sidetracked by not having enough yarn. I'm planning on using the same pattern and all of that, I just want to do a different color, so should work out just fine. And I have all of the yarn I should need, so unless something crazy happens, that's all good. But that's just one example. I have a bunch of other yarn that I have plans for. I just have to have the time and a working shoulder in order to do that. I do have a few other kinds of yarn, because when I would go to Joann's to get yarn, I would always check out the clearance rack for yarn. Just to see what was there, just to see if there's anything, ooh, this could be cool and exciting to use for something. And on occasion, I would get a ball or two of yarn from the clearance rack that was not Lion Brand, so it's just a random assortment of stuff. Most of the time, it's probably not enough to do anything specific with, so I'll have to figure out what I'm going to do with those. I have thought about making a Frankenstein project of some kind at some point. That's just maybe some kind of blanket, Frankenstein blanket or something that's made from all of the leftover, not full balls of yarn, and then I could use some of those clearance balls of yarn as well. That's just a random idea that I don't know is really practical, but that's an idea I have. And then I have gotten some yarn from some local shops, local, small business yarn shops or whatever. I don't remember what those brand names are off the top of my head. Let me see here. The kit that my sister and brother-in-law got for me was from, I should know, Blue Sky Fibers. And so I have some of that left over. Like I said, I'm almost done with that project, but injured myself and can't work on it right now. So I have some Blue Sky Fibers yarn, and there's stuff left over for all of the balls of yarn from that, all 14 balls of yarn from that, so I'll have to do something with that at some point. What else is there? Oh, I ordered some yarn online from Arcane Fiber Works, which is a Canadian yarn. I don't know if you would consider them a small business. They probably are a small business still. But yeah, I discovered them online. I can't remember how. I mean, it was probably an ad somewhere that I saw. But then I also found out that one of the local yarn shops at least used to have some Arcane Fiber Works yarn. Not a huge selection, but some. So that's kind of cool. But Arcane Fiberworks is, I believe, their actual wool. So most of the Lion Brand stuff that I have is acrylic, and I do like knitting with acrylic. It's fine, it's great. And so far the stuff that I have made for myself has held up pretty well, so that is not something I'm worried about. But I do also like knitting with wool for the most part. I do have a friend. I forgot to mention yesterday that I made a blanket for a friend, and every time I see her, ever since I gave it to her, she has said, I shouldn't say every time, but often when I see her, she will, remind me that it's the nicest present she's ever gotten from anyone, which I think is kind of crazy, but, I mean, it does make me feel good and makes me happy that I was able to make someone happy, so that's cool. But anyway, she's allergic to wool, so I do like to knit with acrylic as well, to just, keeping that in mind, that there are people out there who maybe can't have something that is wool. And that was just something I had never really thought of until I made her that blanket, and it lucked out that I made it with acrylic yarn, because I had not known that before, so. But anyway, so I have gotten some of the Arcane Fiberworks yarn, and I did knit a scarf for a coworker who was leaving my job using the Arcane Fiberworks yarn, and I did like knitting with that. It was very nice. I got a variegated kind of yarn. I like variegated yarns. I think it's fun to knit with something that changes colors while you're knitting, so it's kind of my go-to, but I do have some that are not variegated as well. So I have some left over from that. I have a few other colors. I did get some, like, clearance stuff when they had clearance one time. And then, when the tariff stuff was first being announced, they had, like, a buy stuff before the tariffs hit sale. And, yeah, I fell for that marketing. It was good, though. I wanted to buy some yarn anyway at the time, so I did. I haven't used that a lot yet, but I do plan on using it more. I just can't buy it all the time because it is pricier, so there is that. At least the acrylic stuff from Lion Brand is not too expensive most of the time. It's gotten more expensive at Walmart lately, because I have looked at that, but I think that is because of the tariffs again. Yay, tariffs. What else can I talk about in relation to knitting, since that is a thing? Yeah, I'm gonna finish the project I'm currently working on, and that is that oversized wrap thingy. The binding off instructions are interesting, so I really just want to get to it so that I can finish it and figure that out and do it. It's just not going to happen for another week probably, which is a bummer, but my shoulder's not feeling the best today, so I am reminding myself all day that, hey, healing is not a linear process. Like, it's not always going to feel better every single day, so you gotta just chill out. That's normal. Healing is not linear. So, anyway, I'm trying not to be bummed out about how sore it is today. But yeah, I'm gonna finish the oversized wrap, and then I have to tell myself this. I am gonna make a cat toy for my own cat. Because I keep moving on to other things and saying, oh, I need to do that, and then never doing that. So, I need to make him a cat toy. I'm gonna try and work on that next. I might try and do, like, the sock knitting kind of thing, just with a thicker yarn. Because the first one I made was with sock yarn, which is a pretty lightweight yarn. So it does take a little longer since it's a lightweight yarn and all that fun stuff. Oh, that reminds me, I do have some cotton yarn as well, because some of the sock yarn I have is cotton. Yep. My voice is feeling bad right now, so I should probably wrap this up pretty soon. But yeah, that's the next thing I'm gonna do. Work on a cat toy for my cat, and then maybe try and figure out how to make this cat toy thing work, so maybe I can keep doing that in the future. I don't know. I agree with my sister that it would be, like, probably something good to try and sell, but I will have to learn how to like doing it first. I really like doing blankets, and the problem is that those take a long time, so, like, even when I'm working on a blanket, I can't just, like, stop and be like, okay, cat toys now. I don't like working on multiple projects at the same time, so I would want to, like, start something and finish it. And I don't want to do, like, 5 bajillion cat toys, then a blanket, and then 5 bajillion cat toys, and then a blanket, so we'll have to see. I mean, I'm acting like this would ever be an actual lucrative venture, and I'm not sure that that's the case. So, it's just gonna be a whole thing. It's hard to think about right now because I'm tired and I can't actually knit, so that makes it hard to think about doing a lot of it. I don't know. Again, I am not an expert. I just do it because I think it's fun, and I just want to work with the stuff I want to work with, and I don't necessarily care what other people want to do or what other people think is the best yarn or the best needles to use or whatever. I just want to do what I want to do with it. I would like to someday maybe figure out how to do things like Fair Isle knitting and that kind of stuff, but I'm just not there yet. I have done some, like this oversized wrap I'm working on right now. That does change colors, but that is, and it changes yarns, but it changes yarns at the end of rows. It's not in the middle. The few things I have done where I have tried to, add a pattern or a shape of some kind, I cannot think of what that is called right now because my brain does not want to work. It is a Friday evening and I want to be done with thinking. But the few times I have done that kind of stuff, it has turned out okay. But I have never felt very good about how it turns out, even if other people have liked it. I haven't been super happy with it. So I would need more practice with that in order to feel really good about it. I'm sure I can get there eventually. I just need, more practice, more time. And again, I need a working shoulder, so hopefully we'll get there within the next week. If not, I'm gonna have to go get x-rays or an MRI or something and figure out where to go from there. And I don't want to think about that, so we're gonna stop talking about it for now. But yeah, knitting is something I really do enjoy doing, and I have missed it over the past month and a half or so, and I've been thinking about it a lot while I haven't been able to do it. And that's just kind of been a bummer the whole time. There are things I would really like to do someday with it, and part of me is just like so scared my shoulder is never gonna get better. So, I'm trying to ignore that part of me and trying to think more positively about it. Because it would be a giant bummer if I could never knit again. Never play both of the instruments I own again. That would suck. So, I'm trying to do all the right things and to get it to heal at home. So that I can get back to the stuff I love doing. This is not about my shoulder, so I'm gonna stop talking about it. This was supposed to be about knitting! But yeah. One of the big problems I do run into with knitting is when I use wool yarn. My cat will occasionally steal the ball of yarn and try and play with it. He has never done that with acrylic yarn, but with the wool yarn, he really likes to do that. So, that always puts a damper on things. I mean, it's cute and it's funny, but it's also very frustrating when I'm in the middle of working on something. We'll see if that ever happens again. Hopefully I will be able to knit at some point again. And I'm gonna end it there today, because editing this is gonna suck, because it got long. Apparently I like talking about knitting. Keep your fingers crossed that my shoulder will heal. And with that, this has been Myria Com, and I will chat at you again tomorrow, hopefully. Bye.